You're listening to the hexdevs podcast.
The podcast for the smart developer. Andrea Bernal, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming.
No problem.
So, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? You have a pretty long LinkedIn profile, but if you want to go through that a little bit, and if you want to talk also about your personal interests, that would be nice.
Okay, no problem. Well, my name is Andrea. I was born in Colombia, South America, and grew up in Panama. I'm a computer systems engineer with a Master's of Science in Management and Supply Chain Management. I earned a Fulbright scholarship sponsored by the U.S. Department of State, and that gave me the opportunity to work and study in the United States. I lived in the U.S. for 4 years. And in terms of interests, I'm passionate about technology, learning every day, veganism, minimalism, wealth management, particularly index investing. That's something I'm learning right now. So index investing, for those who don't know, is a passive strategy that attempts to generate similar returns as a broad market index. So investors use this way of investing to replicate the performance of a specific index, generally an equity or a fixed income index, by purchasing exchange-traded funds or ETFs that closely track the underlying index. So, so that's kind of like what I'm into right now, like very much. I feel like I'm kind of like becoming obsessed with that topic.
Me too. So if you are interested about learning more about this passive index investing strategy, there is a very good blog and podcast and I think YouTube series. I can link all of that in the description notes. It's called Canadian Couch Potato. I'm sure you've heard about it. Yeah. So and they even have like the model portfolio. Mm-hmm. I'm also into that.
Yeah.
I've been following their portfolio for a while.
Nice. So I actually know about this website, but I did check, but I haven't really started like reading it. I'm following a different one called Millennial Revolution, and they just released a book a few weeks ago. And I'm not sponsored or anything, and they are not paying me for saying this, but it's really cool. It's called Quit Like a Millionaire, and they talk about like their portfolio and how one of them went from like poverty to being a millionaire. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So the Canadian Couch Potato, just giving a little bit more of context, they have this model portfolio, and then he's also a partner with Justin. I forgot his last name, but he has a YouTube series talking about the beginning of index of ETF funds and how does that work, and also he goes through the most popular ETFs, let's say. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's pretty good. One book that was really helpful for me, it's one called The Value of Simple, because it's about Canadian investments only, and as a foreigner, I wanted to understand more about taxes and other investments and all of that. So it's also a really good book.
Yeah. Are you guys like already investing in the stock market?
Yes.
Awesome. Are you investing like in individual companies or in mutual funds or ETFs?
We're doing ETFs right now, and yeah.
Okay, that's
index investing.
Yeah. We started last year using a robot advisor, Wealth Bar, because we were like going through a lot of things, like adapting, getting our permanent residence, and we just wanted to invest. Now this year we were like, okay, we are all set up, so now we are going to do our do-it-yourself investment. So
that's awesome.
We have been using Questrade for that.
Questrade. Yeah, I actually created my account last year, but I hadn't funded it, and I haven't funded it just yet because when I was in the US, I was buying individual stocks, which I do not recommend. And I purchased Tesla when it was like probably like $140, and now it's like way up. And like I'm a huge fan of Elon Musk. And I purchased Delta Airlines. I purchased Wells Fargo and Solar City. At the time was Solar City. Now it merged with Tesla Motors. That is now Tesla only. So so I'm transferring my account from U.S. Fidelity to Questrade, but it has been very painful. So so I'm still going through that process. It's been a year already, and so hopefully this time actually goes through.
But do you really want to transfer to Canada, or do you need to? Or?
I actually need to. They actually blocked my account.
Oh.
So I was dumb enough because I didn't know that I told him like, hey, I want to transfer my, I want to, I can't remember what I said, but the thing is like, I'm living in Canada. And as soon as I said that was kind of like a trigger. And they were like, oh, you're living in Canada, you're not living in the US, so your permanent, your residency or your residency is not in the US. I was like, yeah. And they were like, oops, well, we're going to have to put your account in like under restriction or something. So it's been a year. So finally they, I sent a bunch of documents that they asked for, and now I'm going through like that transfer process. And the only reason I'm doing that is because, first of all, those are individual stocks. I don't want to own individual, and it's going to be very sad for me to sell those stocks because Tesla means like a lot to me. But I have to do it, and so that I can use that money to purchase, ETFs and.
What was Tesla your first stock purchase?
Yeah. So it's sad. It's sad that I
have that emotional.
Attachment, but I have to let that go and purchase my ETF. So
that's something that Dan from Canadian Couch Potato, he was saying in one of the episodes. He said, "I've never heard anyone say, oh, I fell in love with my ETF," but they do that with stocks. And it's kind of hard to make people let it go.
I know it's hard, but I'll do it. I mean, I have already decided that once that gets transferred, I was told that I can open a US like American dollar like investment account. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna like create like a TFSA account or TFIA account rather, and I'm gonna transfer that, and I'm going to keep it in US dollars and then open another one for Canadian and all of that stuff.
Yeah, there's a blog post about that, right? So you create a US account or something and you transfer, and then you have to buy the stocks in a certain way so that you don't have to like pay the exchange rate or something. So there's a way around.
I have to. I am actually doing research right now. I met with my financial planner yesterday because I'm more like I learn. I'm a visual person, and I learn by doing, not by someone telling me like, oh, I did this, whatever, or this is the theory behind all of that. No, I need to do it, and I need at least in the beginning, I need someone to guide me and. To make sure I'm doing things right. And not only that, like I want to understand so that later on I can actually make my own adjustments and rebalance my portfolio and all of that.
That is actually a good point. If you want to start investing and you feel like, oh, I don't know where to start, I think it's a good idea to try to find someone that might help you start or understand what is best for you. Because sometimes we think about, oh, I don't want to pay someone to do that.
And that's the thing.
But then you pay for convenience for a lot of things. Like you go to restaurants, you buy the newest cell phone. But when it's about your money, we always say that I don't want to pay fees. But you pay fee for everything else.
Exactly. I'm a miser, so I really don't like spending money at all. Like I try to keep like my expenses really low. But this is, I see it as a long-term investment. The same way I saw paying a lawyer to be able to help me through the permanent residency process, like as an investment. I saw that as an investment because it is a long-term. It's gonna change my life, and I think it's worth paying for that.
You lived in the US for 4 years, but now you are in Canada. Why did you decide to move to Canada and not continue living in the US?
So let me start by saying that I like a quote by Jim Rohn that says, if you don't like how things are, change it. You are not a tree. So let me kind of like go back a little, like in my personal story. Like, I never liked living in Latin America. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, I don't hate Latin America, but it's just not for me. Latin America has very good things. I mean, in certain countries, expenses are really low. So as a foreigner or as someone, earning in American dollars or Canadian dollars or, any other strong currency, it's really cheap to live in these countries. Now, as a local, it's not that way. There are so many good things about, like, nature-wise, and there are nice things about Latin America. But in terms of, culture and things like that, is just like not for me, and it was never for me. I'm very progressive, and I'm not a very warm person. And people in Latin America are just naturally warm. That doesn't mean that I'm not warm with anyone. It's just that I'm probably not warm with just like a random person on the street. Mm-hmm. So my interests are and were usually very different from the rest of the people. And even more in Latin America, that's kind of like very emphasized. So, I never thought about having kids, buying a house, and just in general, like, doing the things that quote unquote normal people do, right? So, I was raised Catholic, went to a Catholic school, but I'm not religious, so I don't go to church, all of that stuff. So I started doing research when I was in high school, actually, and I do a lot of research for every single thing that I'm going to do in my life. Like, I'm just like a researcher. And I actually wanted to move to Vancouver since I was 14 years old.
Oh, specifically to Vancouver?
Yes.
Oh. Why?
Yeah. So there is this report that the United Nations puts out regularly that is called the Human Development Index, or HDI. And it's a statistic composite index of life expectancy, education, and per capita income indicators, which are used to rank countries into 4 tiers of human development. So, for example, being well-fed, sheltered, healthy, being able to vote, participate in community life, be safe, having education and all of that. So the HDI was created to emphasize that people and their capabilities should be the ultimate criteria for assessing the development of a country, not economic growth alone. Mm-hmm. So the HDI can also be used to question national policy choices, asking how two countries with the same level of income per capita can end up with different human development outcomes. So it's just like a summary of a measure of average achievement in, key dimensions of human development: a long and healthy life, being knowledgeable, and having a decent standard of living. Things that, for the most part, unfortunately, politicians in Latin America don't really care about, unfortunately, right? Yes. So now, specifically, why I moved then to the U.S. and then to Canada is because I was never interested in living in the U.S., to be honest. I only did it because I don't come from a rich family. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want my parents to pay for my, graduate studies. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I applied for a Fulbright scholarship, as I said before. And I applied to that just because my dad told me. I never thought I would, earn that scholarship. So I applied and I got the scholarship. Then when I went to the U.S., I really liked it. But then due to like the current president, I was not able to. Well, actually, because of my scholarship, I had to go back to Panama and stay there for 2 years. That's kind of like the contract. And, the company I was working for in the U.S. told me like, oh, we're going to pay for this. But they were like, I was like, well, I cannot. I mean, I wish you could just pay for this. I could just stay here. But that's not how it works. So it didn't happen. And as I said before, I always wanted to just move out of Latin America. And then, Canada kind of like this I guess this memory of me trying to live in Vancouver kind of like came to me, and I saw something in the newspaper about Canadian immigration, and I was like, okay, here it is. And again, after like 19 years or something like that. So I'm going to give it a try. And that's how I ended up here.
Now you are working as a project manager at TELUS.
Mm-hmm.
TELUS is a huge telecom here in Canada. So it's a really big company.
Yeah.
And so you were living in Panama before moving to Vancouver?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you found the job in Panama? How did you end up working at TELUS?
At TELUS. Yeah. So, as I said before, like I'm not a warm person. I'm not like a super social person, but I'm working towards that, and that's why I'm here today. So
you're doing great.
So once I get in a conversation, I have no problems kind of like talking. Anyway, how I ended up at TELUS. So guys, when you come to Canada, fortunately, you have the option to go to a settlement agency to get some type of help, right, with your housing or writing your resume and like some other transportation and some other things. So I went to this settlement agency called Mosaic, and they, among several other things, they help people by organizing workshops and bringing mentors and mentees to these workshops so that they can share and learn from each other. So I ended up meeting someone from TELUS there at my table, and we had a very, very brief conversation, like literally just a few words, kind of like me asking him to share his LinkedIn account. And so I added him on LinkedIn as I was leaving the workshop, and we kind of like interacted during the workshop and everything, but not like on a one-on-one level. So I went back home, and then a couple of weeks later, I had done research again. Like I had done research, which are like the best companies to work for in Canada and all of that. So TELUS was like one of the top employers in Canada. So I'm like, okay, I want to apply to this company. So I saw a job post on LinkedIn, and I didn't have anyone that could recommend me because, if you just apply, I mean, if you're really lucky, you're going to get a call. But if you're not, if you don't have anyone there, that it's not like it's going to give you the job, but at least it's going to help you so that HR sees your resume and kind of like take you into account, then nothing is going to happen. So I reached out to this person I had just talked to a few, minutes during that workshop. And then he's like, I was like, okay, can you introduce me to the hiring manager, or do you know this person, whatever? So he's like, okay, before I even help you, I need to know like why I need to help you. So he sent me like a bunch of questions on LinkedIn, different questions. So I kind of like, send like long answers. And he's like, okay, now we can talk. Let's schedule a Skype call. We had a Skype call, and, he put me in contact with the hiring manager, and I went through like a very, very, very long process. I applied to 2 different jobs, and I had probably 10 interviews or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the 2 hiring managers were sharing information to kind of like see who would keep me or something. So that's how I got the job. So basically, some help from the Canadian government, if you want to see it that way, because it's the settlement agency that put together this workshop. And then after that, getting out of my comfort zone and going to a networking event, and then connecting with the person or with some people there, and then reaching out to that person. And at first, of course, I was like, oh, this person might not even remember me, but I'm just going to try. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did.
Mm. So you got here with a work permit?
No, I actually came here with a permanent residency.
Oh, nice.
So I went through the express entry process. Do you guys know it?
Yeah. Yeah, nice. So you, really cool. Really cool. Yeah, that saves you a lot of
time and money.
Oh, gosh. I know. Yeah. And again, I had to, not that I had to, but like I pay for a lawyer to walk me through the process and all of that. And it was a long process, getting all the documents and being in Latin America, trying to get all the letters and from the employers that didn't want to send me the letters. I had to pretty much just write the letters myself, send them the templates for every single employer. And I had several different employers so that they could, send me back the stuff and translate it. I mean, it was so painful. And I'm pretty sure people from other continents don't go through this, but it was very painful, but I made it.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do that too. I had to create the letter in English, in Portuguese and in English, and send it to the employer, say just sign it, just sign it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, if you wait for them, they won't.
Oh gosh, yeah, they don't.
So what kind of projects are you managing on?
Well, so we have a kind of a relatively new area of business that is smart home security and living well companion. So smart home security is just alarm systems. So, video cameras and panels and sensors and motion detectors and stuff like that. And living well companion is targeted to senior citizens. So they just wear a pendant, and, if they fall, that triggers a 911 type of call to a center, and the senior gets some help. So I'm working in this supply operations department, so in the supply chain organization, and I'm leading projects that drive inventory efficiencies. But everything is so new, so it's and I've never worked for a startup, but from what I've read, it feels like working at a startup. Nothing is defined. You have I have questions, tons of questions every single day. So it's been very stressful for me, to be honest. Very stressful. So I am trying to kind of do other things other than work, which is something kind of new for me, because in the past I was always either working or studying because I like learning. So I would go on lynda.com and watch videos or stuff like that.
So we've met you at the Mr. Money Mustache meetup, and for those who don't know, Mr. Money Mustache talks about financial independence and retiring early. So how did you
learn about that?
Yeah.
Start.
Yeah.
How did you start?
So, well, I don't know if I've always been kind of obsessed with money.
That's a good reason.
I don't know if it's I think I have kind of evolved in that regard. So going back several years ago when I was a kid, I remember this is kind of a sad story, but I think it's good to share. When I was little, I was in kindergarten. I used to give cards. I would create greeting cards for my parents, on Father's Day, Mother's Day, and just out of nowhere I would just give cards to my parents, and my mom would be oh yeah, this is so nice, you're so cute, blah blah blah. And I would just being in kindergarten, I would write poems and stuff, and anyway. But my dad, one time I gave him a Father's Day card, and he was why are you doing this? This is not giving you any money. Why are you doing something that it doesn't give you any money? And I was in kindergarten, and I think that affected me a lot. and I really think that I became obsessed with money after that. And of course, I'm sure he didn't mean anything wrong, right? But it affected me. So my mom is kind of the person who manages the money at home. My dad works from Monday to Sunday, really every single day. He's a hard worker, my mom as well. So all of those factors combined, I think, made me who I am today. And I'm just, I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with money, but I'm really obsessed with making sure that I don't spend my money on things that don't add value to my life, clothes and, just going to a restaurant just for the sake of going to a restaurant.
Lattes.
Yeah, I don't buy, I stopped drinking coffee back in 2015 when I when I came back from the US. I don't drink alcohol. I made so many changes in my life, and I'm this is not adding any value. And if I want to make money and, grow my money, and I need to be healthy to enjoy that money. So it's, and not only like healthy, like if I get sick, I need to pay for that. No, I don't want to, waste money. So I'll do everything that is in my control to do that. So how I ended up like, and sorry for the like super long intro, but basically, I started doing research and I said, okay, I need someone who can guide me in my very particular situation, because I know I'm like very strange. So I have a very particular like situation in the sense like, I don't spend much money. I make sure that I cover just my basic expenses. How do I do this in a way that is enjoyable and that I actually learn what I'm doing and why I'm doing it? So I wrote a post on Mr. Money Mustache, and I think 1 or 2 people responded to that, and one of them was a financial planner, and this other person was like, oh, you should check out Canadian Couch Potato and this other Millennial Revolution and all these blogs. So I was like, okay, so I found something on Facebook. I'm not really like on Facebook all the time, just for my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, but other than that, I found like an event or something. Oh, no. Actually, that's not what happened. What happened was someone at the Mr. Money Mustache forum, they recommended me to reach or like contact someone from Vancouver. And I started doing research online, and they have a blog. They're a couple, and then I went to Amazon, and I was like, oh, they're vegan. How cool is that? So they are vegan. They are like minimalist. They are into like wealth management. I'm like, what? I didn't know this existed. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna reach out to them. So I reached out to them, and so they were really friendly, and they invited me to to the event. So that's how.
I assume you were talking about Stephanie Celestin.
Yes.
Yeah, we did the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yes. When we got here, we invited them for coffee so we could chat a little bit. And yes, they have a blog. It's called Incoming Assets. It's a really good blog, and especially because we live in a really expensive city, but they managed to save a lot of money, and so we adopted a lot of good tips from them. So thank you, Stephanie Celestin.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, like in Brazil, we're worried about rent here, and because it's an expensive city, and we started researching about how to live cheaply in Vancouver, and they have a book, they have a blog, so that's how we learned more about Mr. Money Mustache, and then we adopted many of their ideas.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, they are very impressive. I mean,
Yes. So one very popular term when we talk about the FIRE movement, financial independence, retirement early movement, is how much is your saving rate? So do you know?
I actually don't know the percentage. I just know how much I spend every month. So I spend about between $1,300 and $1,500 a month. So, and the rest I'm just saving it. And now that I'm going to start actually buying ETFs and all of that, that's when I'm going to actually create a plan where I'm going to be tracking. And I'm already tracking my expenses on Mint. So I connected all my accounts to Mint so that I can keep track of my expenses and all of that. But I already had, before coming here, I already knew how much I wanted to spend in housing, how much I wanted to spend in transportation and food. Those are like the basic needs, and all the other things I can just, somehow figure it out. So
nice. Yeah.
What about you guys? Like, what is your like?
So right now that I got a new full-time job, I think we're going to be up to 70%. Right now, it really depends. Like some months we have some expenses and all of that. So the minimum that we have saved so far, I think, was like 40% this year. So we try to keep the minimum at 50%. But sometimes stuff happens. We are still buying some appliances for our house. We're doing that like
slowly.
Yeah.
We still don't have a couch. We're gonna buy a couch this month.
Good for you. When I was in the US, I did not have a couch. I have a very nice apartment, and I had a roommate, but I did not have a couch. I did not have a couch. I did not have a TV. The stove and the fridge was already there, were already there. And then the washer and the dryer were already there. So the only thing that I bought was my mattress. That's it.
Yeah, we try and we buy everything secondhand, which is kind of aligned also with minimalism and more about being more environmental friendly.
Yep.
When you go back a little bit and you think about frugalism and the FIRE movement and minimalism, they all are tied together to these high consumerist, yeah. So they're all attached to this high consumerism habit that we have, right? And it causes so much trouble. Like, you can go in debt. You live paycheck to paycheck. You buy things that are like disposable. That's not good for the environment. That's not good for your money. And when you want to have some freedom to, I don't know, I want to take 1 month off, you can't because you don't have any savings. Right?
Yeah, and you did it yourself. You did it to yourself, right? Exactly. So, like, you're not planning on a daily... It's not that you have to become obsessed. I think it's just part of, like, okay, this is the plan, and then after you do it a couple of times, it becomes a routine, and you don't really think about it anymore. Once it becomes a routine, you just don't have to think about it. You just have to live your life. Right.
Yeah. And if you are thinking about what are those people talking about, but one thing that you can do today that it might scare you is, and you don't know your budget, like you don't know how much you spend every month, try doing that and see how much you spend with such not useful things, like frivolous things, like clothes, coffee, makeup, eating out every day. All of those small expenses, add that and see how much that can save you in a yearly basis. And if that don't scare you, try to multiply your expenses by 12 months. That will give you a really good idea of what you're doing, how much it will impact your future. Right?
It's true. And I think another part I've always thought about, like, actually not always, but in the last, let's say, 7 years, I've thought that another thing that actually really makes it like very difficult for people to change habits is, unfortunately, like their friends and family and people that surround them. Like, even if you really, really want to change, from eating crappy food to eating healthy food, or from spending a lot of money and going to bars or buying coffee every single day to not doing that, if you are hanging out with people that are doing this on a daily basis, and if these people don't really care about those things and they are just doing it because of whatever, it's very unlikely that you're going to change those habits. So I think you gravitate towards the habits of the people that surround you. So you have to just look for a better crowd.
Look for better friends.
Yeah, I know.
Or at least in the beginning, try to hang out with people that you want to be. And then, because after some time, like, and you discover, you realize what is important to you. I don't care if people around me are doing that stuff. I just don't do it. And I don't care about it. So but I think it is important when you are starting. If you try to find people that are doing what you want to do, then that is helpful. But it really depends on how disciplined you are. If you feel that stop hanging around those people that motivate you to do better stuff will make you go back to your bad habits, then in that way, exactly. Try to do some changes in your life.
Yeah. I actually like a very nice quote from Warren Buffett, who, like, it's a guy that I like. I mean, he has some terrible things about himself, but like things that are not great about himself, but about him. But he has a quote that says that it's better to hang out with people better than you, and to pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours, and you'll drift in that direction.
Exactly.
So
yeah, that's true.
That's true. And what I like most about Warren Buffett is that he doesn't spend any of his money. This is like
exactly. He's
billionaire. I don't know.
Yeah, he's a billionaire. He's a billionaire, and he has donated a lot of money to Bill Gates, and he just makes all of that money back again very easily. And he has lived in the same house for I don't know how many years. He has the same car. He's not going to leave any money to his children. So they'll have to figure it out themselves. So yeah, he's kind of like a minimalist if you want to kind of like, he's not a spender.
Nice, yeah. I feel like we could talk about that like for hours and hours.
I know.
So do you have any good tips for people that are maybe moving to Vancouver and they are spending a lot of money and they say, oh my God, I need to stop spending so much money and I need like a buffer, a little bit of money to...
Not just in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, like anywhere, but do you have any tips for people that are worried about their future and their money? Like where should they start? How do you start?
I would say just, again, doing research. I think the first thing that you have to realize is that you have to know what you want to start working towards that. And you have to kind of like envision yourself in, I don't know, 5 or 10 years and see what type of person you want to become and what things you want to achieve. And make a plan. Because, I mean, if you just say, okay, I would like to do this and that, this is just only a wish, right? So you have to make a plan. And sometimes you just need help from other people to not only create a plan, but implement the plan. If you're the type of people who cannot take accountability and cannot take ownership of their actions and their life, you need help, and there is nothing wrong with that. You just look for that help and make sure that the person you're getting help from is a person that has actually achieved at least some of the things that you want to achieve or is working towards that. So it's a good or a positive, person in your life. So, yeah. So I think doing the research and making a plan, implementing the plan, and getting help from a specialist or an expert, or at least even like a friend or someone who actually knows and has achieved what you want to achieve. Yeah.
It's good advice. And if we're talking about, because not just money, but if we're talking about health, if you want to eat healthy, if you want to have better habits. So you have a YouTube channel about that? Can you talk about about that a little bit? Yeah,
so I have a YouTube channel called Plantae Revolution. So it's like revolution of plants. And Plantae is the kingdom of plants. So it's spelled plant, A as in Andrea and E as in eagle, revolution.com. And it's basically a channel where I review research about nutrition and how eating a whole foods plant-based diet can prevent and reverse some diseases. Some of them cannot be reversed because you just have damaged so much your body that you cannot reverse them, but you can treat them and you can thrive. So again, I actually have a website as well. And I do consultations, so people contact me to get help in eating healthier and living a healthier life. And what I have found from my experience, like talking to different people from different parts of the world, that people are people, and the main obstacle for them to achieving their like health and their health goals. The main obstacle is, their habits, of course, but like not having people around them that can support these new habits that they are trying to implement or create. And, for example, a wife that, wants to, eat healthier and wants to exercise more or whatever, her partner, he doesn't want to eat healthier. He just wants to eat crap. and she has to cook for him because of whatever reason. So she's going to end up eating whatever he eats because she doesn't want to make two different foods, 2 different meals. So yeah, you just have to, of course, in certain cases, you cannot just like dump your partner. But I think if they love each other, they want both, they want to grow old and be healthy. So you have to kind of like sometimes just have very tough conversations and, see if you are actually on board with, this, kind of like similar goals at least. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for you to change any habits if you don't have any support system. So, yes, wanting to change is good. Creating a plan is good, and finding someone that can help you implement that plan is great. But not having a support system, you can have these first 2 things, but if you don't have a support system, there is nothing. I mean, you can achieve without a support system, people that are around you that can actually help you become the better version, the best version of yourself. So, yeah.
And your YouTube channel has how many subscribers?
I think right now it's at like a 28,000. 28,000 subscribers. Yeah.
And is it in Spanish or
it's in
English?
Spanish. It's in Spanish. And the reason why it's in Spanish is because when I went to the US and I learned about nutrition and all of this, I took like a lot of certifications, and I got a plant-based nutrition certificate from Cornell University in New York. I think they're based in New York, Cornell University. So I learned a lot, and I said, okay, there is a lot of information in English already. I'm not going to make another YouTube channel that is going to be again in English. I like it, again with my quotes, I like a quote from Albert Einstein that says, those who have the privilege to know have the duty to act. So I think it's kind of like, I feel like it's my responsibility that if I know something that is good that I should share with others, I should just do it and make it like kind of like my mission. So that's why I created the YouTube channel. And so it's basically in Spanish, a few interviews with doctors that, the interview is in English, but it has subtitles in Spanish. So everything is in Spanish.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you said that you do some consultations.
Yeah.
So is that your only source of revenue from the channel, or do you generate revenue?
Yes, I do. I do generate revenue from the channel, but I transfer that to my Panamanian account. So because it's US dollars, and I have a high interest savings account quote unquote high interest, right? High interest savings account in Panama. So I decided I'm just gonna move that money, like American dollars, to Panama, because Panama has the American dollar as currency. So it's just better to leave it there. So yeah, so it would be the revenue from the consultations and the YouTube channel.
How did you grow the audience?
The audience, oh gosh, I to be honest, I don't really know how it happened. Like, I feel like it happened like very fast. I think that the main thing, this is gonna sound kind of like cliche, but it's just more about, I just felt like this was my mission. I needed to share this knowledge with others, and it became my passion. Talking about nutrition and just trying to, become a better version of myself, and, trying to help others do the same. So I started doing research again about like the most interesting topics in nutrition and questions that people have about like a plant-based diet. So I made a list of like the most popular topics about plant-based nutrition, and I would make a YouTube video about those, about those topics. And then I would, use like very catchy titles for the YouTube videos so that people would become interested. But it has like, you have to kind of like learn as you make these videos who is actually your target. So it seems like people who are actually watching my channel are between 35 and 65 years old. So younger people are not going to be, unfortunately, interested in these things. They are going to be, I was when I was younger, but for the most part, younger people are just interested about the day-to-day and the bars and the Instagram and the pictures and everything. So it's mainly women and mainly those between like 35 and 65 years old. It's a very big gap, but just to say, like, younger people are, for the most part, not really interested in that. Yeah.
So how long have you been vegan, and do you think that it helps, the fact that you are vegan? Do you think that helps you lower your expenses? How do you...
Yeah, definitely. And this is kind of like a myth, like, oh, if you eat healthy, then you're going to pay more. Yeah. Well, you pay for convenience, right? So even if you're eating animal products, if you go to a restaurant or if you buy a package of something, then you're going to pay for that convenience. You're going to pay for the package, whoever put together that in a package and all of that, right? So I think that it has helped me a lot in lowering my expenses. I plan my meals. I cook my food usually on Saturdays, and I try to cook for the whole week. But now, since I'm sharing the fridge with other people, it's more difficult. But once I move to a studio, I'm going to be able to make my meals for every single day, so I don't have to think about that during the week. That kind of like helped me kind of like keep, make sure that I actually eat healthier and I don't go out to eat because the food is already made. I don't have to think about it. Yeah. That's one thing. And then the other thing is, your question was, how long have I been vegan? So I have been vegan for... It's gonna be 6 years in December. So yeah, it's like truly like the best thing I've ever done in my life. It's I feel like everything kind of like came together once I became vegan. Because once I became vegan, that's when I started looking for ways to learn about, how to save money and how to become a minimalist and all of these other things. So once I became vegan, I think my interest in doing research to just like become a better person, kind of like all of that came together kind of like at the same time. So I'm really happy, I guess, to have made that choice.
Okay. I have one question about, like, because now the what is it called? The plant-based hamburgers, they're becoming more popular, right? Yeah. So what do you think about it?
Well, I have mixed feelings about that. So there are two things. So one is it better for the environment? For the most part, yes, it is better for the environment because meat uses a lot of water and resources. Animal agriculture is the worst industry in terms of how it impacts, the environment, how it affects the environment. So it's the worst, worse than transportation. So, and then I forgot the question again.
What do you think about those?
The plant-based burgers, sorry. So and then the other thing is they are not healthy. They are not health food. So it's not like, now I'm vegan, then I can eat just whatever. It's plant-based. No, that doesn't mean that if something is vegan, it's healthy. But in terms of animals getting killed, of course, this product doesn't kill animals, but it might kill you if you eat a lot of it. So I think if you want to, as a vegan, if I want to help the cause and I want to help, veganism grow, I have to take care of myself and I have to be healthy, because who's going to want to follow someone who is like all like, sick and tired and whatever, right? So you have to try, you have to do your best to take care of yourself so that you can spread the word about, animal agriculture and, how eating animal products is terrible for the environment, for your health, and for the planet. Yeah.
My question is, so you're doing a bunch of things, like you have a YouTube channel, you have a full-time job, you you've done a lot of research and you have a master. So how do you manage all of that? Like, how do you manage all your side projects while working full time?
Yeah, it's not easy, to be honest. So I think everything started with when I was little. My mom used to tell me you have to kind of like obligations and things that you know that you should do come first, and then I guess kind of like quote unquote enjoying life comes second. That sounds kind of like terrible, but if you have a mission, like I feel like have a mission to educate people, and you see that not only as a mission but as a way to enjoy life, then you can combine those two things and kind of like get two positive things at the same time while doing like kind of like the same thing. So how I managed to do those things, you have to plan. And very importantly, you have to have some type of support from someone. So my brother and my mom are like, I guess my support system in that way. Like they are always like, oh, when are you gonna, upload the video this week, whatever. I'm like, oh, I already planned it, or I'm recording the audio, I'm editing the video, I'm doing all of this. So again, it doesn't come like, it's not like magic, like, oh yeah, I'm just the best and I can do all of these things at the same time. I've always done like a bunch of things throughout my life. I was always like, playing soccer, and I would like doing like getting a certificate like as a technician to help repair computers and learn about networking and all of that. So I think it became kind of like part of me. But again, even if it's kind of like easier for you to manage several things at the same time and work on several things at the same time, you still need that support system or someone who is going to make you accountable and say, okay, so, you uploaded the last video, I don't know, 7 days ago. When are you going to upload the next one, right? So it's a little bit of planning, but also a lot of support from, my mom and my brother, who kind of like make sure that I take ownership and I, do what I have to do.
Nice. And okay, so my last question is, you mentioned that you were thinking about start learning how to code.
How to
code? Remember, like some projects like with Rails and stuff.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. So the reason why I'm interested in that is because I think I should find another way of making money, so that when I retire, I can do that from anywhere in the world. So I want to make sure that I not only know about nutrition, but I also know like other things probably related to technology. So I'm thinking maybe continue that path in like project management and maybe like in the IT industry, telecommunications, technology, all of that. And on top of that, I'm doing some research about learning UX design. And maybe coding. So I'm gonna start like taking like free classes online and see how that goes. And if I feel I can do it and I can learn that, then that would be another source of income in the future.
Last question: what are your plans for the future? Like in 5 years, or do you want to retire early? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I do want to retire early, but at the same time, as I was telling my financial planner yesterday, I want to make sure that I not only have enough money to cover my expenses and all of that. I want to make sure that I don't, like when I'm making my plan, I don't depend on the government giving me any money at any time. I should not rely on that. I should only rely on my own money. And so I know that you can figure out like how much money based on your living expenses you have to save, but I want to be able to save more than that. So my plan is to retire like maybe, if possible, like in the next 10 to 13 years. Now, she was talking about like less than that, but again, I want to make sure I have plenty of money to not, and again, I'm not gonna like just like retire and then sit, on the couch, which I don't even have, and like watch TV. I'm not that type of person. I'm gonna continue learning. I'm probably gonna become more of a philanthropist. So yeah, and maybe become more active in the vegan community. And I know you guys didn't ask like this, but I want to say it. So I'm the assistant producer of a documentary on Netflix called What the Health. So you should definitely watch that documentary. It's pretty cool. It's about nutrition, and it's all based on science and facts.
Nice.
So check it out.
Really good.
That's awesome. What the health?
What
Netflix?
the Health.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
Netflix.
I'm gonna provide the link in the description notes.
Yeah, and you should also watch Cowspiracy from the same directors. And another documentary you should watch is Dominion. That Dominion is actually not on Netflix, so you can probably find it somewhere online or on YouTube. And Game Changers is the last documentary. I haven't actually watched it, but I've read pretty cool reviews about it. So, yeah.
Okay, Andrea, thank you so much. That for me was a really good conversation.
Yeah.
And I hope it will inspire people.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope that we can, continue learning together about, the FIRE movement and minimalism and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I learned a lot of stuff today, and you should come again because I have other questions to ask about finance and nutrition and other stuff. So thanks so much.
Of course. Yeah, thank you very much again.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoy it.
If you want to support us, you can go to our website at hexdevs.com, and you can subscribe to our mailing list and get updates.
You can also leave a review and a rating at Apple Podcasts.